Hey guys, I'm BSC1 again. I had someone request for a Primal Groudon Dragonite deck list. So this is the list that me and my friend Michael have been working on for a while. I hope you like it. Alright, so we'll start with the Pokemon as always. The Groudon line is actually pretty thin. It's just 2 Primal Groudon and 2 regular Groudon. I know I'm not using sleeves again. I just didn't want to sleeve it and then unsleeve it because I'm just building this deck for this video. But that bothers people for some reason. Anyway, yeah, we have just a thin line of Groudon because even though it is your main attacker and the deck revolves around it, Max Wind is going to make it so that you don't really need a thicker line than that because they're just going to, once you power up a Groudon, it's probably going to stay alive for the whole game, or else you're just going to lose. So you don't really need a thicker line than that. I kind of wanted a thicker line, but I feel like if you need to get another Groudon and play it anyway, you're probably going to lose that game. So it kind of doesn't matter most of the time. Then there's 3 Wobbuffet. I'd like to have 4, just can't really fit more than that. It's just for starting with, while you're powering up your Groudon, you want to have Wobbuffet active to lock your opponent's abilities, and then, or basic Pokemon's abilities, and then it just slows them down, makes it so they can't use Shaman. It's just helpful as a wall early game. 110 HP isn't bad for a basic either. And then there's a pretty thick Dragonite line. I used to have it thinner, but Michael and me kind of realized that you need it to be pretty thick because you can't always just heal twice. So there's 3 Dragonite, which is kind of a lot, and then 3 Dragonair and 4 Dratini. So 4 Dratini is just so that you make sure you start with it. You want to get it down in your first turn pretty much every game because you're manually evolving your Pokemon instead of using Rare Candy. So you really need to get that down turn 1 so that by turn 3 you can use Dragonite. You usually don't, I mean, you almost never want to actually use Max Wind by your 3rd turn, but it helps make it so you have more options and you can, it just makes it easier, basically. Yeah, and we have 3 Dragonite because with only 2 you can only heal twice, and I guess with 3 you can heal 3 times, so that's basically the whole reason why. Twice just usually isn't enough, you need to heal more than that. But yeah, that's it for the Pokemon line. Very, very centered around just getting Groudon and healing it, because that's pretty much the whole focus of the deck. I mean, you don't really do anything else. There's no real alternate strategy. It's a very easy deck to use. Then for the supporter line, it's very consistent, just like the Pokemon. 4 Karina, 4 Juniper, and 4 N. Just all great starters, good for consistency. Works just well all the time. They're not really good late game, early game, or mid game. They're kind of just good all the time. So I just thought 4 of each was consistent and strong. And then there's also 2 Lysander. Lysander is just good for knocking out EXs. You can't really trade very well with non-EXs with this deck, so you're going to really need to bring up their benched Shaman or just anything that you can kill, or knock out, I mean. So yeah, 2 Lysander is good for that. And then 4 Verseeker to get back any of these. This 4th Verseeker could easily turn into a 3rd Lysander, but you pretty much beat Toad every time anyway, so like there's not really a good reason to do that. And that's it for the supporters and the items to get back supporters. I had AZ in this deck, and I like it, and I kind of want it back in, but I just have trouble fitting it. But if you can find room for AZ, it's really helpful with this deck, and I actually would definitely consider putting it in. 2 Scorched Earth and 2 Silent Lab. You don't really need Fighting Stave in this deck because you're already one-shotting everything because you do 200 plus Strong Energy makes it so you do even more than that. So you don't really need Fighting Stave in this deck. So you just have Scorched Earth to draw you more cards and Silent Lab to shut off Shaman or anything else. This is good if you don't have Wobbuffet active, so you can take advantage of Silent Lab with that. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Sometimes something will stop Wobbuffet, like Lysandering up a Groudon, so you can have Silent Lab in play to make it so they still don't have abilities. It's a little bit redundant, but you don't really need any specific kind of stadium in this deck anyway, so it's kind of just nice for the added benefit of that. Also good against Safeguard Pokemon. This deck doesn't really have an answer to Safeguard Pokemon besides Silent Lab, so it's kind of necessary for that reason as well. And then for the items, there's 1 computer search, pretty much standard in almost every deck. This deck actually you could warrant running Scramble Switch, but I just found that you really need that early game consistency, at least in my experience. especially with Karina, because you can only have Karina in your hand sometimes in the beginning, and then you can Karina for a computer search to get a supporter for the next turn, because if you don't, then you can just end up dead drawing and losing. So I felt like computer search was important for that reason. You could easily substitute, that Karina play with the random receiver, but that's just another spot that I can't really fit, and computer search is just more consistent because you can get whatever supporter you want, and you don't ever like hit a Lysander or anything like that. For Ultra Ball, this deck has a lot of Pokemon and a thick evolution line, so you kind of need to have the Ultra Ball to get whatever Pokemon you need whenever you need it. So 4 Ultra Ball is very standard, makes sense. I don't think you can really run this deck with less than that. 2 Switch, a lot of high retreat Pokemon in this deck. I think the lowest retreat cost you have is 2, so you pretty much need Switch a lot. And then there's 1 Escape Rope, which just does the same thing as Switch, except it disrupts your opponent's side of the board sometimes too, so that's helpful. 2 Focus Sash, there's no real reason to run more than 2 because you only have 2 Pokemon to put it on, which is the Groudon and Primal Groudon. So I guess you could run more if you wanted more consistency with it, but 2 seems to be fine with me, especially with Karina in the deck. And that is actually it for the items. Not very many items. Another reason why this deck is great against Seismitoad. And for the energy line, it's kind of thin. It's 4 and 7. You got 4 strong, just for that extra damage. Enhanced Hammer can't hit Groudon, so there's like no reason for you not to run 4 strong. And then 7 fighting, because, well, that's all you really need. I mean, yeah, I guess. Your Groudon's never really gonna get knocked out because you just keep healing it. So you don't really need more than that. Honestly, the deck only really needs 4, or like just as many as you need to power up the Groudon, because you're not really going to attach to anything else. You might attach to Wobbuffet to like retreat it maybe, but I believe it has a 2 retreat cost, so that's not really going to work out. Yeah, the energy is pretty much just there. I mean, anyway, I'm talking about this too much, but yeah, that's all you really need. And then I know that might seem weird with Scorched Earth because like you would want more energy to discard, but you don't even use Scorched Earth a ton with this deck. Like I said, the counter stadium, the actual kind of stadium you're using doesn't matter too much. It's just the fact that you have the stadium. So yeah, you don't really need more than this. I think 7 is enough. You might want to bump it to 8 maybe, but yeah, 7 has been fine for me, and I like it like that. So that's it for the deck. This is just one way to build the deck. There's a lot of ways to do it. I've seen variants with Landorus EX in it, Hawlucha even, and versions without Dragonite. I've seen versions with Mega Turbo, like accelerated version 2 with like Trainer's Mail and stuff like that. So there's a lot of ways to build it. This is just the way that my friend Michael Perez and me kind of put it together. But it's not like the end-all be-all way to do it. And I would encourage you guys to experiment with your own ways to build it instead of just copying this list. So that's it for the video. Comment if you want to tell me something, subscribe for more, and like if you liked the video, I think.